Well, coming up, we have Nathalie Landry, Vice President of Scientific and Medical Affairs at Medicago, Inc. You may be interested to learn that as of a few days ago, Medicago, along with GSK, was approved to start the Phase 3 portion of their vaccine trial and will also be studying a vaccine candidate to address the emergent COVID-19 variants. Speaking on the topic of vaccine manufacturing in Canada, let's welcome Nathalie Landry. Welcome, Nathalie.
Really a pleasure to be with you today. And I've been asked to discuss a bit about manufacturing capacity in Canada. And I'm here to tell you a bit about Medicago. So don't worry if you're not fully aware of what Medicago is, but the thing I want to convey to you is that Medicago is a Canadian innovation. So this is a technology that was born in Canada. This is a spin-off from Agri-Food Canada. So this is a branch of the government, and Laval University in Quebec, who developed a technology to produce vaccine and therapeutic in plants. So this is really something that was born and raised in Canada. And if you think of developing a new manufacturing technology, there's a lot that goes into it. And the people who founded the company had a very good idea. And I would say probably a bit of naivety. This is one thing to have a technology. This is another thing to bring it to a scale and produce vaccine at a commercial scale. And there was a long journey ahead of us. So the company was founded and started activity around 2000. And what is interesting is that, like any company, you start with a good idea, you start with some money, and we started activity in the garage. And this is what you see in there. Not unusual for many companies that they start in local installation that they have. And eventually we got a laboratory in Laval University. So this is really where the journey begins about developing a technology that can provide vaccine doses to the Canadian population in the context of a pandemic. What you see on the next picture is the first plant species that we have used to produce vaccine. So again, our technology is innovative. We use plants to produce vaccine. And the first plant was alfalfa. And that's the name Medicago. So for those who are wondering what Medicago means, it's not a combination between medical and go-go. It's really the name, the Latin name of the plant you're seeing on the screen. So alfalfa was the first plant species we've used to produce vaccine and therapeutics. And we have used these plants for several years. Very good plant, can produce very high amount of vaccine, but would take 1 to 2 years before starting any production. So it was not very, very competitive. So we had to change the technology eventually and change the plant species. What you're seeing right now is a picture of the greenhouses we have in North Carolina, and you see the plant species that we're currently using. This is Nicotiana bentamiana. So we had to adapt the technology, and we had to adapt all the manufacturing steps to produce at a larger scale. So we started with the first manufacturing facility. You see our pilot plant in Quebec. So this is a facility that is currently producing COVID-19 vaccine doses in Quebec, and that was our first facility. The other thing that is unique about using plants to produce vaccine is that we produce a product that is called virus-like particles. What does that mean? So you see a rendering of what it is. So it's a vaccine that will look alike as a virus, but is non-infectious. So there's no way you can get infected by that vaccine or get the disease. But your body will see that as an invader and will raise a very good immune response. So virus-like particle is also an innovation due to the plant species that we are using. So this is a unique attribute. And again, we developed the new technology and the VLP around the 2009 H1N1 pandemic. I'm sure many of you will remember that pandemic. And therefore, because of pandemic preparedness, we got some money from the Department of Defense in the US to build a larger scale manufacturing facility that you see on the slide. This is the facility that we have in North Carolina in the US. And that facility is also producing currently vaccine doses for COVID-19 vaccine. Talking about preparedness and being ready to fight if there's a pandemic, I think we know the situation we're in right now. So we're facing an important pandemic. You see on that slide 120 million cases of COVID-19 worldwide, and unfortunately 2.6 million deaths. So this is certainly something that is very serious, and we need to be prepared to have a lot of vaccine doses to be produced very quickly. But is it an unusual situation? So I hope you can see, it's a bit small on the slide, but this is the history of pandemic over the human race, what is known, and this is a picture that I took from a study done by Johns Hopkins that is highlighting the different pandemic we have seen over decades and centuries. And there were some pandemic that were very bad, you see, and the bigger the bubble you see on the screen, the highest the death rate. So you have the Black Death that was due to plague, that was many years ago. 200 million people were wiped out of the planet, and of course, we're talking of a moment where there was no vaccine at all. If we go, you see the green bubble is about the Spanish flu. So Spanish flu was around 1918. And this is an influenza pandemic that caused 40 to 50 million deaths. And that was at the time where the people were not traveling as we're traveling right now. And that was really significant. You have AIDS that is considered kind of a pandemic because this disease caused the death of more than 25 million people. And what you can see, this is a small bubble in the middle, it's COVID-19. And we're at 2.7 million then because we control traveling and we implement social distancing, and we have vaccination to try to control, and we deploy as quickly as we can to vaccinate the population. What I want to convey as a message with that slide is pandemic is not, it's an unusual event, but there were many pandemics in the past, and there will be in the future. So that's for sure. We need to be prepared and be ready to vaccinate people if we don't want to get into confinement and restriction like we have been for the last year. That's an obvious. So coming back to what Medicago is doing right now for COVID-19, you have seen in the opening remarks that we are currently in phase 3 with our vaccine. So this phase 3 will demonstrate that the product is effective. And we have a contract with the Canadian government. So as soon as we have demonstration of efficacy and we have the green light from Health Canada, we will supply the Canadian government with doses. And therefore, this vaccine will be available to the Canadian population. As mentioned as well, we are preparing for emerging variants in case we need to change the vaccine strain or we need to administer a booster dose. So we are engaging in that. And both the Quebec facility and the facility in North Carolina are able to produce million doses. So we're actively engaged into producing that material to protect the Canadians. And not only that, we are investing in the future. What you're seeing right now is our large-scale manufacturing facility that we are building in Quebec. So it looks pretty much complete, but we are currently installing the production lines. And this is a facility when we'll be starting production that will be able to produce 1 billion doses of vaccines. So of course, this is a facility that will be able to support the requirement or the needs of the Canadian population, but also will be able to supply other countries. There's domestic capacity in Canada. We, as a company, we have a technology that can produce vaccines, but also therapeutic compound. We have produced antibodies in the fight to Ebola crisis we have faced a few years ago, and therefore we are participating to this current COVID-19 crisis. And in a year or two from now, we'll be even better prepared to face any other emerging threat. So thank you very much for your attention, and I'll be happy to answer any question.
Let me just ask, are you able to share with us what the immune response has been to the virus so far in your trials?
Very good immune response. So if you compare the level of antibody response to that of convalescent people, so people that have been infected and recover from the disease, the level of neutralizing antibody response induced by our candidate vaccine is 10 times higher. So it's a very good immune response. And we have confirmed that level of immune response in different target population in phase 2. And now we're at the last step demonstrating efficacy for this vaccine.